What up, everybody? It's your boy Young Fizz, aka Mr. Dope Status on Instagram, and welcome back to another tutorial. So today I got a very special tutorial for you guys because I have the $1,000,000 secret and the sauce on working with acapellas inside of Machines. Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and please do not forget to turn on the bell notifications so whenever I drop a new video, you will be the first person to be notified. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's tutorial, which is working with acapellas inside of the Machine. All right, so this is going to be a lengthy tutorial because I want to break down the beat as well as working with the acapellas. So we're first going to start off with the actual guitar here. The original is at 84 beats per minute, and let's listen to what that sounds like. So a little bit slow for what I'm trying to do with the track. So the first thing I went ahead and did was change this to 92 beats per minute. Now let's go ahead and play it without the metronome a little bit. A little bit faster. So now I'm feeling a vibe there. To further process the guitar track, I wanted to add some width. So to do that, I added a plugin built right inside the Machine called the Chorus. Let's go ahead and play that with and without. So that is with the chorus on, and then you can hear how wide it gets once I add this plugin in. And here are my settings right here. I got the rate turned down all the way to 0%. I have the amount turned to 25%, and then the mix turned to 85%. And these are typically the settings that I use for this plugin. All right, so last but not least, I added something called a metaverb. And if you guys watch my tutorials and follow me, you know metaverb is one of my favorite reverbs inside of the Machine because it is so simple to use. So let's go ahead and add that to the track here. So you can just kind of hear how that adds a nice, like a Santa Monica beach, Venice beach type of laid back vibe, just giving you that atmosphere sound. So here are the settings for the metaverb. I'm cutting out some of that low end. I don't need any low end on the reverb. I don't want to muddy up the mix or anything. I'm boosting the size. It's at 60%. I'm boosting some highs. That's at 75%. And then the mix at 25%. And last but not least, I have it panned to the right just a little bit. Now, this is one of my favorite things about this particular reverb is because you're able to really place the sound in a stereo field. So let me show you what I mean. So if I turn this all the way to the left, listen what's going on here. Let's turn it all the way to the right. Let me just kind of pan it around the stereo field. So you're probably asking, what is this plugin doing? Not only is it adding space, but it gives you the ability to pan the dry signal before it actually hits the reverb. And this is pretty awesome because you got to remember this plugin is being instantiated on the actual track. So we want to be able to pan it left to right because if we use these panners up here, it's going to be after the reverb. Using this pan here, it's panning the dry signal before the actual reverb. So that's important. All right, so that's pretty much the guitar and how I got it sounding like that. The next thing I want to talk about is the vocals. So let's just go ahead and play the dry vocal. I'm using a plugin called Serato sample, and this is typically how I work with acapellas inside a Machine. So let's go ahead and pull up Serato sample here, and you can see some of the settings. So let me just go ahead and play the dry vocal, make sure there's no effects on here, make sure it's, this just the original key, original time signature, everything. Let's just go ahead and hit play.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it.
All right, so step number one, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure the sample is in time with your session. So I'm just going to hit the sync button here, which makes it easy enough. And that's going to basically have it set to 92 beats per minute. So 92 is matching there, and that's perfect. All right, so let's just go ahead and play the sample with the guitar and see how it sounds from there. I'm just going to come over here and just going to press play and see how it sounds.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it.
And as you guys just heard, it's out of tune. It doesn't sound good. So the next thing we have to do, we have to change the key. Right now it's in the key of E. And so we're just gonna bump this up until we have the right key.
Hollywood signs and bright lights.
So we know it's not that one. So let's try it one more time.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it.
Okay, so it's sounding a little bit better. And the only issue that I have with this now is the fact that the vocal is sounding a little bit weird. But I'm going to talk about what I did with that a little bit later. But first, I want to let you guys in on a little secret on a very important step that you're going to have to take with this plugin. So I'm over here on sound slot number 1. I'm just going to hit the W key. And basically what I need to do, I need to trigger an event inside the machine.
Hollywood signs and bright lights.
That's being triggered right here. So what I'm doing, I drew in this note the duration of the whole entire sample. Whatever I wanted, that's what I basically did. So I said, I want from 1 to, the beginning of 29. So the length of 28. So that is basically dragged in right there. It's plotted right here in the piano roll. This is very important, and you guys are going to see why in just a second. But before I get to that, I want to go ahead and continue with the plugins. So just remember this step here. Let's go ahead and talk about this vocal. It sounds kind of funky, right?
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it.
So what did I do to correct that? I used a plugin called Little Altar Boy. And Little Altar Boy is basically a voice manipulation plugin. You can use this to correct pitch. You can do some funky stuff with it. It's pretty cool. So I added this plugin and I changed something called the format. And what this allows you to do is basically change how the vocal is sounding. So I moved that down 2 semitones. Let's listen to what it sounds like now.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it.
All right, so it's sounding a little bit more natural, and that's exactly what we want. Now, this is a popular plugin used by a lot of famous, the EDM DJs, a lot of pop music artists. It's used in some trap music, but a lot of pop music and EDM. And it gives you cool effects like this.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already know that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it.
All right, so that's what that plugin pretty much does. And also, another thing that I went ahead and did with this plugin, because I have the ability to, is that I added a little bit of drive in there, just a little bit of distortion, some saturation with this drive right here. So that does wonders for the track, just to kind of bring out that vocal, just to kind of get some grit in the vocal. So the next thing I went ahead and did, I'm going to come down here to my plugins, and I said, you know what? It needed some space. So I did that by adding another metaverb, but this time on the vocal. And so let's play it with the metaverb instantiated with the vocal.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it.
All right, so that is the metaverb on the vocal there. And you can kind of see the settings here on the vocal with the metaverb. I'm just kind of taking some of that low end, boosting, the size, that's 60%. I have this high set to 60%, the mix at 15%, not doing anything with the pan, just leaving it right up the middle. So far, I'm using Serato sample, little altar boy, and the metaverb. The next thing I went ahead and did was add an EQ just to kind of bring up that vocal just a little bit. So let's go ahead and bring that in.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. Hollywood signs and bright lights.
So just adding a little bit of presence to the vocal, and you can kind of see that here. Adding some lows, taking out some of that annoying frequencies around 400, adding the presence there, and then just a little bit of top end, some high end there. The next thing I did was add a compressor just to kind of tame the vocal. So let's listen before and after.
Hollywood signs and bright lights. Hollywood signs and bright lights. Hollywood signs and bright lights. Hollywood signs and bright lights.
And that's just kind of moving the vocal just a little bit more in your face, kind of a little bit punchier. And it's kind of bringing up that reverb, that EQ. It's just kind of bringing out those nuances and the sonics of that vocal. So that's why I'm using this compressor here. And last but not least, I'm using something called a beat delay. And you can see that right here. I'll move this over. Got the type signature 4/16, offset 0, unit 16th, feedback 70%, crossover 25%, color 65%, split 55%. Mix is all the way down to 5%. Just a hint of just space in the mix, just giving that stereo width of the delay. So let's listen to what that sounds like instantiated.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it. One time if you're feeling the vibes. 2 times if you're ready to fly.
All right, so far so good. Everything is sounding good. This next step is critical. So remember just a minute ago, I was talking about why, when I hit W, I had to drag this note out to the duration of this whole entire sample that I'm using here, this acapella, right? So the reason why I did that is because I needed to trigger an event inside the machine, telling the machine that, hey, I need you to export my audio from point A to point B for this duration. And so when I did that, I have this icon pop up right here, right? It's a little wave icon, and I can click this icon and basically export that audio from Serato sample into my machine. So let's go ahead and do just that. So I'm just going to hit W again here. And so another thing before I do that, I want to let you guys know that you don't have to put these plugins on before you do this step. In other words, you can take a Serato sample and you can just drag that dry vocal to right here. But with my philosophy and what I do and the things, how I use Maschine, I wanted to commit everything I just did. I just wanted to commit right here to the track because that's the final vocal. That's the way I like the way it sounds. I'm not going to change anything. So I'm just going to commit that to the track. So I'm turning all my plugins on. But like I said, you can turn these plugins off if you feel more comfortable and want to add them in later. But for now, I'm just going to leave them on. So let's go ahead and export the track. Again, I'm going to take this icon and then I'm going to drag it to sound slot number 5. So we're going to click and hold it. And that's basically going to bounce this whole audio right here. It's exporting. It's like real-time exporting or real-time bouncing inside a Maschine, right? So that's going to export that. I'm clicking and dragging, still holding it, still holding it, still holding it, almost there. And then we're going to drag that right here to sound slot number 5. Bam. Now it automatically created an audio plugin. And so this is the one I'm going to be working with now, right? So I can mute this one with Serato sample. I can take all these plugins off because I don't need them. Save me some CPU usage. I don't need that anymore. I can turn this channel off because I don't need it. We're going to call this the main vocal now. So now when I play it back, I have the main vocal.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it.
When I press stop, everything stops. All right, so that's perfect. So the next thing, what I want to do I decided to create something called a lower Vox. So how did I do that? Basically what I did was took this main vocal and made a duplicate, which ends up right here. All right. So we have the main Vox and then we have the low Vox. All right. So now I'm using another audio plugin, but this time I'm using it in gate mode. So remember, if you watch my other tutorials, I talk about, the loop mode versus gate mode. And in gate mode, essentially what you can do is select what parts of the audio that you want to hear. And now this becomes very important because you don't want the whole loop playing in the low vocals. You just want to have certain parts of that loop or the acapella playing with the main vocal. So that's what I did right here. And I'm able to just draw on the notes using the pencil tool. You press E, you can draw in some notes here and all that good stuff. But we're going to delete that for now. And we're going to go ahead. And so I did that right here. And we're just going to go ahead and play it to listen to see how it sounds.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it.
And then you can see the settings that I'm using here. So I have the tune down to -12. So basically it's just a whole octave. I have it on stretch mode and everything still remains the same. Let's just play everything all together now with the guitar and then the vocal.
Hollywood signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it. One time if you're feeling the vibes. 2 times if you're ready to fly. I know, it's so hard to say goodbye. So baby, don't waste no more time to run off to the big, big city. I know you've been big dreaming for so long, girl. Don't waste no more time.
And so far, so good. Everything is sounding A1. So that is pretty much my process in working with the acapellas inside of Maschine. All right. So again, let's just take a little review. I'm using Serato sample, and then I'm using the little altar boy. And just those two plugins together, I'm able to manipulate the pitch to get it back sounding more natural. So before I go, I want to show you guys one last thing here. Talk a little bit about the arrangement, right? So I have the intro and I have the verse. And then I had another intro, but that's kind of like a mute channel. So I'm not really using that. That's just to kind of cut it off when I don't need it. But right now I have the intro and you can see that the guitar right here is playing. So if I have it playing, you don't hear any vocal. You just kind of hear the guitar looping over and over again. So that is selected. That's how you turn that on. And then for verse number 1, I'm selecting pattern 2, which is from the Vox right here, the Vox. So I have the Vox playing and then I have the guitar selected. So whatever you want playing, you have to select what you want playing. And that just logically makes sense. You got to turn it on. So if you don't want the vocals playing, you just turn them off right here, unselected. But I want those playing. So when you come over to the song view, you could simply arrange your track from here now. So now I can turn off my loop. I can either press L or hit this icon here. And now I can play my arrangement. So I have my intro and then I have my verse playing. And in the verse, my vocals, like I said, is dragged out the whole duration of the song. So now I can just say my song is done, it's complete. Let's press play and then we can hear it in its entirety right here. It's going to play a little sample though.
Signs and bright lights and what a life. You already knew that you made it. Don't turn back if you get scared now. This is your chance, gotta take it. 1 time if you're feeling the vibes. 2 times if you're ready to fly. I know, it's so hard to say goodbye. So baby, don't waste no more time.
So that is pretty much the vocal there. All right, so that is pretty much the secret sauce and how I work with acapellas inside a Maschine. I hope you guys find this tutorial extremely helpful. If you did, help me out by giving me a like, subscribe, drop a comment down below if you guys have any questions, and we will see you on the next tutorial. It's your boy Young Fizz, aka Mr. Dope Status on Instagram. Thank you for watching. We out.